Hey everybody, it's Matthew. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about my favorite Big Muff style fuzz. This is the Russian Pickle by Way Huge over here. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about how we can use this type of fuzz with different types of amp tones. Anyway, more details about the Russian Pickle though is it is a fuzz pedal that is modeled after a Big Muff style circuit, and we're talking about the old Big Muffs in the ugly green boxes that were built in Russia, those kind of Big Muffs. And of course George Tripp's at Way Huge makes little modifications to these traditional circuits to make them his own type of thing, but it still functions the same basic way as that type of fuzz pedal would. And here's a few ways that you can use this with some guitar tones. So for tone 1, I've got a clean tone dialed up on the amp here, or as clean as I like it. But this is a way where it's clean if it's light pick, or it's a little bit less clean if you pick hard. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this content so far, don't forget to go down below and click the subscribe button. It's so helpful. It really helps the channel grow and all those wonderful things, so I'd really appreciate it. Which is about where your clean tones should be if you're doing one. But here we're going to talk about using it as a clean boost to give yourself a little bit more saturation and a little bit more volume on this basic kind of clean tone. So it's set right now with tone fully on, which it's going to be tone fully all the way up for most of this, because this thing can eat a lot of your tone if you have it turned down too low. So I have it turned up a little bit for this. We might turn it back down when we get to higher gain stuff. We'll see. And then of course we got the volume is all the way up and the distortion knob is all the way down. So you don't really want to add the distortion to this, you just want to add the volume to it. So let's turn that on and see how that sounds. So now that we've turned it on, we get this sound. Which is a little bit dirty. It does take out a little bit of your tone, so you can turn up, of course, your EQ on your amp to improve that some. But for these chords, it's really good because it's giving us a little bit of that saturation there. A little bit more distortion, but not a ton though we're not all the way into hard rock or even AC/DC land. I suppose you could get to AC/DC if you pick hard enough. But really that's not what this function of this is about in this setting. It's just about adding a little bit of saturation to your clean tone so you can make it stand out a little bit more, which can be really good in a mix to have something like that to help it, you know, have a little bit more weight in the mix. And lead stuff in this kind of setting, you're not going to get great lead usage out of this. I mean, you're going to get a little bit. But it doesn't add a whole lot to single note lines. This really will beef up chords more than anything in this kind of setting. Of course, you can do that. Of course, for like some soft blues, this would still be a pretty good tone for that. So, you know, there is that kind of usage. All right, moving on, let's talk about the next thing we can do. What if we've got an amp that's already got some gain on it and we want to add a little bit more sustain and just give it a little extra push? Well, we can leave it exactly as it's set right now and just go to a high gain tone on the amp. So let's put the high gain on real quick here. Okay, so now I've got the amp set where I normally would have it for higher gain. So here's how that sounds. We are in drop D, so take advantage, you know. So I do have it set pretty crazy there. I do have the volume turned up a little bit. Well, not really. The volume's actually the same. The high gain mode just adds a lot of volume to it when you turn it on. So this is a good test of a pedal. Can it boost this sound and give us a little bit more? Let's hear a lead line though before we go on with just the regular settings. But let's hear a lead line before we move on here, so you can hear how that sounds before we kick on the pedal. And if I play a little cleaner today, I haven't warmed up yet or anything, but you know, there's how that sounds. Let's turn on the pedal. It's gonna get noisy. So now that the pedal is on, let's do that again. Let's hit some of those chords. So it does give a lot of beef to your chord tones there, of course. So you could play Soundgarden stuff like this, like Outshine, but it's probably too much gain for that. But here it is anyway. So that's probably a lot of gain. That could be a good live tone though, who knows. So there's the demonstration of that. We can do a lead line here really quick to see how that sounds. If we're facing the amp, we could get some feedback there. It can give you a little bit more sustain on things like bends. See, when we go up to that bend, it wants to really hold on to that harmonic thanks to the tone we have set on the pedal. So that's a good thing about that. And of course, your chords are going to be massive, which we already discussed with this. Now these are practical use cases, but what if you want something a little bit different, a little bit crazy? Well, we can do that right now. Okay, so pedal is back off now, so we have a little bit of quiet. So let's dial in this pedal for a little bit different use case. Let's dial it in for some really sludgy, crazy, heavy rock tones here. Not even rock, this is practically a metal tone. So we're going to turn the tone down just a little bit, because I don't want to overwhelm this thing. We're going to turn down the volume a little too. But we're going to take the distortion and we're going to crank it all the way up. And what this is going to do is this is going to give us a Melvin's style crazy ass heavy tone. So be ready. It's very loud on the amp, but this is what you get. So there's not a ton of practical uses for that. If you just have a time where you actually need that tone, you can get it with this pedal. We can do a lead line maybe. But you're never going to lose your note. It's going to sustain forever. There's a bunch of noise. We can do this fun thing too. I like this line here. Stealing from Kim Thale there. He does that improvised line on live versions of Beyond the Wheel, but you get the idea about how ridiculous this tone is. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the pedal off and we'll talk about it. Alright, so yeah, if you need a really sludgy, loud, sustained tone, there it is in this box for you guys. So let's recap. We talked about a clean boost, we talked about a gain boost to give you a little bit more sustain and a little bit more saturation. And that gain boost, that's a good way to get like a Jerry Cantrell style tone. His guitar tones are very saturated and overdriven, but they're not, crazy distorted or anything like that. That'll get you there well. It also combines really well with the existing overdrive pedal, which I think is actually the ideal way to get that type of really well-sustained high gain tone, especially for leads. And then of course you get the big sludgy crazy tone at the end there that you can do, which is good for leads. Anything articulate though, you probably don't want to play with that because that's not really the vibe of the pedal. You kind of just want to make a bunch of noise in that kind of setting, and you don't really necessarily want articulated things. You might want long sustained bends or things like that, really simple lines, but nothing too crazy. Of course, in the high gain, if you're using it just as like a saturation and a boost thing, then by all means do as many articulated lines with that kind of tone as you want, especially with a second pedal, because that will help, replace some of the tone that you do lose by using a fuzz pedal on it. But anyway, guys, thought this would be a fun little tone demonstration here to understand how you can maybe use a Big Muff style fuzz pedal. So anyway, like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if you like. As always, don't forget to click the bell so you know that when a new video is out. And with that, I will see you guys next time in another video. Have a good one.